will be occupying those 2 floors? Students doing lab there, or will it be
So
scientists, or?
Yeah, Hackensack has existing science labs right now on the Hackensack campus, so the discussion is that they would move over there. And there are also additional researchers, really nationally prominent, amazing researchers with big programs that we're negotiating with now that would take up a good amount of lab space there. So there's a bunch of different lab research programs that will come together.
And is that another 100 people or so, or?
Yeah, I think that's
Probably would be,
probably,
because there are what, 8 of the researchers that are coming, a team of 8, is it?
yes.
Yeah, so it's probably close to another 100. But
So-
we can try to get a more, you know, a better ballpark total number
Yeah,
of
I
faculty.
think one of the numbers we probably look for is, once the campus is up and running, like, and not 4 years down the road, but up running, how many people in and out of there a day, just as a, you know, guide to know what kind of police presence and stuff, I mean.
If I might just, a little off the track, you recently, you being Hackensack, the Hackensack Medical Network announced an affiliation with Sloan Kettering. Will any of that work, any of that research or treatment be done on this site, either now or in the near future?
It is very likely that at some point in the future, the research collaborations, some would occur here, because the 2 units of Hackensack and then Sloan Kettering will be highly integrated. They will not be part of the School of Medicine per se, but as we've already mentioned, there'll be laboratories that are Hackensack. And like so many of these partnerships, I mean, I was at Wayne State, we had a very good partnership with the Detroit Medical Center, and they become very blurred. You know, you'll have one building that has quite a mixture, and a lot of people have joint appointments, so, and they end up being pretty well integrated, so. I don't know, you would probably have more information than I about that.
No, I think that's accurate. I think initially the rollout is going to be in the clinical sites, so not there, but certainly Sloan Kettering already has a presence in New Jersey at a couple different sites and was planning to open a new one up in Montvale. Hackensack Meridian has a number of cancer centers. All of those will be identified as Sloan Kettering, Hackensack Meridian cancer centers, and we'll be working together on protocols. So it'll be a lot of integration right from the beginning at the clinical sites, the laboratory presence and cooperation that might happen. And by the way, this also may be true with Georgetown as well. We have a legacy relationship with Georgetown in becoming a National Cancer Institute site. So there may be some laboratory work there involving collaboration with Hackensack and Georgetown. So the research piece is a little bit behind all of Bonnie and the Dean's Cabinet team of putting the school together, but that's being worked on in parallel.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions on that part? Dean, you had said you had something else.
Well, I did. As I had mentioned when the last time that a couple of us met, we're very grateful to be in the township of Nutley and Clifton. Our students will be spending a lot of time out in communities. We would love to have your thoughts, not necessarily tonight, but at some point, about ways in which you feel that beyond the economic engine of having a medical school, it could be helpful to have the presence of a medical school and with students and faculty that are perfectly not only willing but excited about engaging with the community. And you know, I can throw a couple of ideas out, but we'd much rather hear from you what would be meaningful for you. We certainly are talking about doing pipeline programs, particularly for populations that have struggled a little more. We're talking about potentially programs where we come in and just, you know, do a certain number of lectures in the summer or some other time in the schools. It could be the high schools, it could be the junior high schools. And those are the first two that come to mind, but there are other things as well, such as doing assessments in homes and this would be much more of an interprofessional, this would not be just the medical school, but about the safety of the home, if it's an older person living there and what we might want to have. Those are ideas, and I'm not particularly wedded to any one of those, but basically this notion of wanting to work with you so that we're real partners in your community.
You mentioned in-home, and that's something that I would like to speak to you about now. We have an aging population here. We find that a lot of our seniors, they can't get out of their homes. I know Commissioner Tucci is transporting a lot, we know that. And we're transporting some to their doctors and to drugstores, et cetera. But one of the things I like to see is kind of a throwback, I guess, to the old days when we had the doctors come to the house. I'd really like to see something set up where we can have a home visit, maybe for a basic assessment, where they don't have to worry about getting out of their homes. They can't even afford cabs, let alone medical care to get to these locations. That would be a tremendous help to this community. I'm the director of the health department, so I get a lot of this, and we get a lot of calls, and we just can't, I have one doctor from the county that actually makes home visits. And he has been focusing on a lot of people who are disabled and bedridden, that they just can't get out. So if you could think along those lines a little bit, we have a number of, we have about I think around 1,002 veterans in town, a good number of them disabled. It would be a great service to them if you come up with something where we could provide some sort of visits to their homes. Even if it's just to say hello, believe it or not, they want to speak to a medical professional. So you can think along those lines and reach out to me, and I have great nurses working in our health department, and they're the professionals, not me. And they're the ones I'd love for you to speak with.
Terrific, that's very helpful. Other thoughts?
We also have 2 senior buildings, and several senior organizations, Tuesday Club, Friday Club, and Old Guard. If we can get you folks in front of them, they're very astute, they pay attention, they sometimes listen. But I think as an integration with you folks and Commissioner Rogers' office, I think we can reach a lot more of them and maybe do a lot more preventive medicine and more wellness type medicine than what's going on right now.
Excellent. These are
And
both great
one more
ideas.
topic comes to mind. You see, you opened up the gate, so.
And this is good. This is
Now,
what
this
we
may
want.
be out of your jurisdiction. I know nothing about the medical field, but we're getting a lot of calls from parents with special needs, children, autism, special needs. An overwhelming number of calls. They're having a very, very difficult time with the bureaucracy, et cetera. If something could be established to even lend some sort of assistance to them, and that would be a big help too. But we have one of our schools, right, Radcliffe School, is probably one of the best in the state with regard to addressing special needs issues.
Oh, really?
So something you might want to, that's something.
Yeah, Steve, that was one that I was going to raise. I remember when we were in the campaign, Al, I believe one of your employees raised that adult autistic adults, that there's not a lot of support for
Once they get to a
relief for
certain
parents at
age.
that level. There might be something you can consider there. And nearby, we also have the Cerebral Palsy Center, which has got very active participation from Nutley, and I would suspect that they would also value a contribution of a visit or some sharing that you might want to consider as well. I think the other side of this is the from the standpoint of the academic arena, with the growth in the STEM areas, that there's things that can be done to support faculty in our high schools, support our students, possibly, at some point in time when things settle down, possibly consider scholarship. I think one of the things you're going to have to get used to, as we as commissioners experience all the time, is that there's 7 PTOs in town, and they all have tricky trays. They all look for contributions and support for the fundraising that goes on to support our school system. So I think you'll get hooked up with that network fairly soon.
And just one other thing comes to mind. I know Commissioner Petracco holds his Hope, is it the Hope Festival?
Yes.
For drug and alcohol abuse, and I also have an affiliation with the Mental Health Agency, where there's an outpatient department, a partial care department, a therapeutic school, and a sheltered workshop. And our mayor is also the mental health administrator for Essex County. So there's a lot that we can talk about, and a lot of unmet needs due to the very scarce funding that's available. So maybe with a little hard work and ingenuity, we can address some of these things without additional funding.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, this is a lot of very rich areas, so this is great. Now, the other question I had said, have any issues or problems come up so far? I mean, we've now owned that property or are leasing it and are working on it for several months. So if anything comes up, as I said, please let us know.
There's just one thing I would like to add to. I'm the public safety commissioner here in town, and I know I touched on Kevin with this a little bit, I think through Johnny Glacimo, our attorney, about how we're gonna handle this campus as far as police and fire goes. So I think that, and that's a long discussion to have, you know, because if you're gonna have this on your site alone, an additional 2,000 people, think of who's gonna back into a car, you know, who's gonna, you know, whatever the police call is, or even God forbid for a fire. So I think that we need to be proactive before you guys really go in there, because Roach had their own security. I've heard that Prism is gonna have their security there too.
And there'll be campus security, there'll be.
But just so you recognize that, even though you have the security guard there,
Sure.
they're not able to take the police report, so we'll have to physically send a police officer there every time there's an incident. And, you know, being here my whole life too, Hoffman Roche was always a gated community where Nutley really didn't get involved too much there. At one time, they ran their own ambulance, they had their own fire department there. So it's gonna be something that we really need to address, you know, before those fences come down, so to speak. And I think it's very important to have that proactive conversation.
So that's interesting. So they had a parallel system, so you didn't have to,
Correct.
you know, let a lot of people go because you hadn't had them while they were.
The service, I mean, the
gate was locked.
yeah, the gate was locked. And,
They even had a heliport, they had a helicopter.
yeah. So the stresses on our services were really minimal,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we'll change that.
That's how we want to talk to
Well,
I think he was hoping for a different answer.
you. What answer do you think that was, Commissioner Evans?
Yeah, I think it was alternative C. You were looking for A.
Exactly.
well,
Early on, well, just one last question. Early on, there was talk of maybe taking the fence down and integrating the campus into our park across the street. Now, I know the Prism development plan is still evolving, and they're still working through a bunch of things. But when you can, if you can make us privy as to what your plans are on your 14 acres, all right, that'll help us in our planning, all right, as far as Green Acres grants are concerned, or trails grants, where we can hope to integrate, all right, your campus into the community, because we do have a right-of-way along the railroad that leads right down into Franklin Avenue.
Wow. And does that eventually, that park system connect up to Brookdale Park? Does it all?
Not Brookdale, but we have 110 acres
Oh,
of
really?
parkland that are connected. You may have to cross the street here and there,
Yeah,
but
that's so
it's a
nice.
greenway throughout the township. It's
Wow.
quite unique.
almost from one border to the other.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, Nat or Kevin, do you have anything to?
I mean, that's our hope too, that there's a green campus there that becomes an
Yes.
extension of, you know, the great things you're doing with that, because, so that had been talked about. We think that would only be a benefit for the students, of course.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
I think it'd be wonderful.
We do appreciate you coming in.
Well, thank you so much.
We look forward to working with you.
Likewise.
We look forward to that campus getting active. We want
Likewise.
some, yeah.
Hey, Joe,
Yes, good.
just one real quick thing. This is Commissioner Evans. I have, the Code Enforcement Department is under my watch. I know you said you were completing demolition, but the timeline for renovations to get ready for accreditation is also, seems like it's pretty tight and pretty strict. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We're prepared on inspections, and we're staying on top of it to cooperate and support you in every way. But if you're feeling as though there's a disconnect in any way, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Thank you so much. That is lovely, and we will not hesitate. So far, everything has been great.
Yeah, and thank you, because I've heard from the construction people that you guys have bent over backwards to help with this, and it's greatly appreciated for us to stay on this. So that's another thing for us to thank you for.
And like I said, we're looking forward to working with you in any way we can,
Right.
because we're excited about getting that campus active, and there are people on it, not only from the economics, but, you know, also, you know, jobs for our residents, you know, and ratables to start coming on as we redevelop the rest of the campus. So, we're excited, and we look forward to anything we can do to help you move it along.
Well, thank you. We will take you up on that offer for sure, and we'll be back in touch with some of these ideas and perhaps others as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.